So our prior videos have produced lots of questions about modifications to our equipment, and today we're going to cover our spreader modifications as well as the sprayer modifications we've made on our planting equipment. Hi, this is Matt from Reed's Custom Food Plots. Welcome to our shop back here in Mosinee, Wisconsin. Today we're going to answer several questions that we've gotten regarding two specific equipment customizations that many of you have seen in our prior videos. One of which is the spreaders that are mounted to our ATVs, and the other is going to be some of the spray equipment that we have on our planters. Let's go ahead and get started with some of these spreaders. On my left is an original kind of out-of-the-box spreader that has not been modified yet, and I'll just point out a couple of the things that we've done to it to make it fit this unit a little bit better. First and foremost is the mounting system. Most of these spreaders come standard with brackets to mount on a rack, both front and or rear on your ATV. This was a front-mounted spreader. A couple things we didn't like about it. One is when you put a little bit of weight on them, they tend to sag. It tends to ride a little bit lower to begin with, and if it's riding low and it's sagging, your spread width isn't nearly as good. So what we did with these is we actually took the entire mounting frame off, we flipped it over, and then we rebolted it onto the bottom of the hopper, and then we built a bracket that actually fits into the 2-inch receiver on the front end of this Can-Am ATV. So now it rides quite a bit higher. It's a much more solid piece of equipment that is now secured with a steel cable and 2 turnbuckles on the back. This doesn't move, it doesn't sag, and it served us really quite well. Second thing, the actual gate opening system. So this is the gate opening system. This is really similar to what comes on most ATV spreaders. It's plastic, it's got a really flimsy cable in it. You break them all the time. We just were not happy with them on really any spreader that we ever tried. If you have one that hasn't broke yet, congratulations, but your day is coming. So what we did instead, we actually took a part off of one of our tractors, which is a much heavier steel cable system. It's got a pull rod and a push rod that opens and closes that opening gate. This is never broken, it's never bent, it doesn't twist. We've never had to touch this thing since we did that. It's been a much, much better alternative. Third thing regarding that gate, when you open the gate, that steel slide that opens the hole in the bottom of your hopper, most of them are pretty narrow, and it's hard to get a good volume of seed and fertilizer going through those. We just thought it was way too slow. So we actually took the steel plate off, we took a grinder to that plate, and we ground about a quarter of that plate off. So now when you open it, your opening is much wider. Your seed and your fertilizer are gonna flow much faster. It's gonna allow you to drive much faster, and it's gonna allow you to save a lot of time when it comes to putting seed to the ground in your food plots. Last thing I just want to touch on briefly is once you have these things mounted, many times they're going to block the lights on your ATV. We actually mounted new lights on the front of this unit. We also put some sections of conveyor belt that we found at our local fleet farm to protect that radiator from dust and debris and chaff going up into the radiator itself, but it's not so big that it blocks the airflow to make the machine overheat. So that was just a nice thing that made it a lot cleaner as we put this into the field. That's a few of the quick modifications that we've made. Feel free to ask if you get other questions. We'll certainly be glad to answer them. The other thing many of you have asked is what in the world have you guys got going on with the sprayers and the tanks on your no-till drills and your corn planter? So we're gonna just touch on it really briefly here. This system was set up with a one-pass application in mind. So this tanking system is developed so that we can apply herbicide and fertilizer in one pass in a no-till setting. It allows us to be much more efficient, it allows us to reduce the amount of soil compaction, and it allows us to be much more exacting with both herbicide and fertility as we're going through the field. This 150-gallon tank system was put on the front to give us a good counterbalance to the weight of the drill on the back. It's really nice in level ground, but we really see it pay dividends out in hill country so that you're not feeling like you're gonna tip that tractor front to back going uphill or downhill. All of the pumps and the tank are obviously on the front, and then all of the plumbing of this runs up through the arm of the tractor, under the cab, and then ends up in the back. So when you follow that plumbing all the way to the back of the machine, you'll find that all of our planting equipment, our no-till drills and our corn planter, have custom-built spray bars mounted on the back. We built these so that all of our nozzling is spaced out across the width of the equipment that we're working with. All of these nozzles are just like any other spray equipment. You can change those nozzles to adjust the spray pattern width, the spray volume coming out the back end, so that you have complete control for both your herbicide and your fertilizer, depending on the time of year and the crop that you're planting, to be as exact as possible and get all of that done in one pass. Once you're up inside the tractor, the brain box of the whole system sits right here. As you've already guessed, all of our fertilizer programs are liquid, and our friends at Plot Doctor help us develop a liquid fertilizer program for each crop and each season that we plant, and we can control the amount that we're putting to the ground from right here. Right here is the box which turns our recirculation pump on and off. Our nozzle switch is right here, turns that on and off. Our pressure gauge up here tells us exactly where our pressures are at, as we can adjust the amount of fertilizer and herbicide that's going down with this dial right here. So as we want to dial it up, we can increase the pressure, dial it down, decrease the pressure, depending on the customer, their soil types, and as well as their soil samples. So as we wrap up this video, I want to just keep a couple things in mind about the modifications that we make. Anytime that we make a modification to our equipment, we do it for a few reasons. One, we want to be as efficient with our time as possible. When you're out food plotting on a weekend, you don't want to be wasting your time. You've got lots of things to do, so you want to be efficient with your time. Second thing you want to keep in mind is maintenance is a huge issue. You don't want to go on the weekend and then have something happen while you're there and then have to start doing work on something that's broken. It's just not as much fun when those kinds of things happen. Third thing, efficiency of cost. All of these products are expensive, whether it's your seed, it's our liquid fertilizer, or liquid herbicide program. You want that product put to the ground exactly where it's supposed to go in the right amount, and these modifications can help do that. Thanks for watching today. If you've got questions about anything you see in our videos or any other of the equipment that we have, feel free to let us know. We love the interaction. We'd love to try and help. We'll see you next time.